And welcome, ladies and gentlemen, back to the Valley of the Judged. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me I have my usual mix of good brothers and good sisters. We have our three-eyed man with a multitude of the worst jokes that you'll ever hear.
Also known as dad jokes, yes.
Good brother Joe.
Hello, everyone.
We have our resident seeker and someone who I'm probably going to be peer pressuring into doing a dramatic reading of Masters of Doom at some point.
Okay.
Good brother Sig.
I'm still working on getting that physical book, so just give me some time.
I know. I am patient. It's going to happen eventually.
Yes.
And the woman going through, banging her head against the wall at certain console RPGs. Good sister Tabby.
Yeah. Yay, hi. I'm here. I exist. That's enough right now, right?
Yeah.
We're glad you exist.
Yay. Existence.
But
It's futile. Wait, what?
aren't you a little short for a Borg?
Yeah. But no, I might be tall, actually.
I'm grading on a curve here, and because it's me.
This is true. This is true. I am much shorter than you.
Do you have the slightest idea how little that narrows it down?
Only curve I grade on is my spine.
But
I was taking a drinking of tea for that one. Thank you.
But now, originally the plan for this week was to just cover equipment and technologies. But considering how light that chapter is compared to how slightly less light the next chapter is going to be, I decided that I'm going to fold it into one episode. So tonight we're going to be covering chapters 3 and 4. So equipment and technologies, and then vehicles and starships. The latter is going to be important because that's where we get into starship combat. Now, first off, I do have to appreciate the art we have for chapter 3, and the fact that we have what looks like the unholy combination of an awesome and a marauder as the mech in the background.
I kind of like the vibe. It kind of gives me a vibe of not just BattleTech, but Shadowrun in a way, with the shop setup and everything.
Yeah. I guess the mech over there is the anti-theft measure. You know, if you try and steal something, then he's gonna deal with it.
Yeah, I mean, you'll just be a pink smear on the metal there.
Yeah.
There's an anti-theft measure. Is there a uncle theft measure?
But
It's giving Solution 9 vibes to me from Final Fantasy.
But I will admit part of the reason I think of the Marauder is because of that cannon on the back. And I can't say it's a full-on Marauder because instead of having overbuilt gun hands, it has a battle fist. But are either of you familiar with the look of the Marauder from BattleTech?
No.
I probably would if I saw it. It's been a long time since I've played.
I'm gonna be showing you guys the more recent Catalyst version because I feel the art style in the Catalyst era is a bit more consistent than it's been in the past. You know, where they were just grabbing mech designs from a bunch of different anime. But
I'm kind of reminded with that cannon of an Atlan from Doom the Dark Ages.
yeah. But here is the Marauder. I put that in Valley of the Judge for YouTube.
Oh. Yeah, I've seen that.
And
Like I said, it's been a while, but I think I vaguely remember that.
I could also reference the
Reminds me of a Magitech armor.
I could also reference the King Crab, which happens to be one of my favorite designs, even if it has its flaws. But it's a big wide boy with overbuilt pants, because the engineers knew that the pilots would do dumb things. So instead of trying to force them to not do dumb things, they're like, we will reinforce the mech so that when you do the dumb thing, you won't completely break it.
At least on the first crash run.
You know, one of the big examples of pilots doing dumb things is the Highlander, which is an assault mech with jump jets. So what some people ended up doing is DFAing smaller mechs so they get literally buried. And when engineers found out that the pilots were doing that, they're like, wait, let's armor up the legs so that you don't break them when you do this. Because they're not going to stop people from doing it, so better to make sure that it's done safely and properly. Well, as safe and proper as you can get when you're dealing with mecha. But the first part we have is money and commerce, which mainly goes into the fact that the standard currency is credits, which is pretty much expected when you're dealing with sci-fi RPGs. I mean, who's going to trade in gold when you're going across planets?
Republic credits? Republic credits are no good here. I need something more real.
And we do have a thing on trading goods, on buying and selling, on bartering, and the cost equivalent for different types of trade goods. Which having this would be nice, because one particular angle I could see people doing is being a space hauler. You know, that was a whole archetype that people would play as in EVE Online, and even Elite Dangerous to an extent. You know, just getting goods from one spot to another.
Yeah.
Then we have purchase availability. You know, certain things are going to be harder to get than others. Some things might be restricted, i.e. you need an official license to get it, which might require some fees. Or you can get it in the less than legal form. Then we have restricted and full-on illegal. And as far as getting a license, you have to submit an application, pay a fee, and succeed in an erudition intelligence check. We also have a thing on starting equipment. So you start with 3,000 credits to purchase additional equipment. You might also be able to take on debt to get items that would normally be too expensive.
I mean, it worked for Gene Starwind after all.
And of course, we do have the black market if you want to go that route. But to find it, you need to succeed on a will streetwise check. The base DC is 15, but GMs might increase it. Though with the black market, items always cost more than those sold legally, and often their finding takes time, or maybe some extra creds. But then we have the tech level, i.e. the tech level of a given planet, civilization, what have you. So make your prime directive jokes here. I know you've got them.
Nah, I got nothing.
But tech level 1 is primitive. So this would be, I would say Stone Age kind of early civilizations. Tech level 2 is archaic. So I'd say like Bronze Age through medieval periods. You know, that kind of thing. Tech level 3 is industrial. So the first pangs of the industrial age. Tech level 4 is I'd say it would be the equivalent of modern tech, since it talks about nuclear energy becoming a reality along with renewable energy sources. Tech level 5 is interstellar, where they're able to somewhat go between planets. Tech level 6 is galactic. And that is beyond the scope of a lot of the planets within the setting. It's because just through the amount of text available, there's kind of an implication that galactic is more of a hypothetical. The tech victory level in a Civ game, for instance, or Alpha
My
Centauri.
favorite way to win.
Oh.
Not even gonna lie, that's how I win.
I've done that, and I've also done completely crash the economy kind of victories.
When I was a kid, I was full on murder hobo for like Civ 2. Until I realized, because my dad would be like, "Oh, but you could do it this way," and I'm like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "Well, I finished the game and it's only 1650, and he's gotten to Alpha Centauri." I'm like, "What?" He got me addicted to doing the tech versions of winning rather than the war versions of winning.
Yeah. But then we get to armor. So the first proper equipment. Armor comes in 3 categories: light, medium, and heavy. You also have shields, which are mainly there to make it easier to deflect or parry. But each armor has a minimum strength score you need, and if you don't, you can wear it without meeting that strength requirement, but any armor penalties that it has are increased by 2. Which I like that kind of compromise more than the whole, oh, you just can't wear it. Although sometimes with some games that I've run, I've flipped that kind of thing where if you are proficient, you get more out of the equipment. If you're not, you just don't get that benefit. But armor value, which I think we covered last time, it is soak. We don't have the thing of heavy armor making it so that you dodge.
Nope, just reduces your damage by a certain amount.
Mm-hmm. See, armor penalty,
which I appreciate.
Yep. Armor penalty, self-explanatory. Though it doesn't state a short list of skills where armor penalty is applicable to, just if the GM feels it's applicable. Then we have weight and cost. And we've got a few example armors at the bottom. A ordnance protective vest, a armored protective vest, a reinforced one, a assault tactical armor, and a scout tactical armor. Obviously styled for different species within the game. Although I can't be the only one who looks at the helmet for the reinforced one, and I keep seeing Hokkaider. don't know why, but that's just where my mind goes.
I mean, you're not wrong. I see the armored protective vest, and I'm just thinking of like an armored kaiju because of the race.
Although the idea of taking a kaiju from like from like any of the Toho movies and armoring it up is a terrifying idea.
God.
Admittedly, the next page gives me a lot of like Warframe vibes.
I can definitely see it, especially with the Raptor Techno Armor and the Battle Tactical Armor. The Titan Armor, I could, that is full-on power armor. I'm not going to hear any argument on that front. But the Guardian Techno Armor, maybe it's just me, but I keep seeing the Excalibur Warframe in that.
Yeah.
All I see is the freaking Slayer's Blade from Doom Eternal.
I mean, you're not wrong.
Just with a different helmet.
Yeah. We also have the idea of improvised armor, which usually gives an AV of 1 to 3, requires a strength score equal to the AV, and causes an armor penalty equal to twice the AV. Wearing improvised armor gives disadvantage to combativity and dexterity checks, and has a 25% chance of breaking at the end of every combat.
I mean, it's improvised. It's probably going to get shot to hell anyways.
But the way it seems to be set up is light armor does not have any strength requirements. Medium armor has a strength requirement of 2, and heavy armor a strength requirement of 3.
If light armor had a strength requirement, I would cry.
I would just be like, well, my improvised armor will be the only thing I can do because I'm going to be wearing a pot on my head.
But armor value goes the lightest, which is protective vest ordnance, has an armor value of 1. The heaviest we have is the Titan armor, which has an AV of 5, which we'll come back to that kind of thing when we get to weapons. On the other hand, the armor penalty for Titan armor is -4, which on a 2d12 roll, I think that's, especially given how this thing works, that might be even more impactful than if it was on a d20 roll. But I'd say the bigger pain when it comes to Titan armor is going to be the weight of 26 and the cost of 50,000 credits.
There's a part of me that thinks that the only way the Titan Techno Armor is moving around is if we have like someone in a forklift just kind of moving it.
Yeah. So because
the Titan Techno Armor though, because it just reminds me of like all of the different like Magitech type things and just like all those different edge runners and stuff like that too, like where he chromes himself up entirely and that kind of thing going on. It just kind of gives me a lot of the vibes of different robots, but not robots, like machinery, like you're inside the machine.
that's pretty much what power armor is. Though I do have to wonder if somebody was taking notes from the power loader from Alien, specifically from Aliens, especially because of that collar.
I like the Guardian one.
But now with shields, they don't provide armor value, they provide a defense bonus. And we only have 2 forms of it, a shield and a ballistic shield. But you can put on upgrades. There's no limit to the number of upgrades you can put on an armor, but it does mean that each subsequent installation is 200 credits for each upgrade already installed. i.e. installing a second upgrade costs 200 credits more than its standard cost, third one 400 more, and so on. A character with a mechatronic skill can install or remove an upgrade from an armor by taking 4 hours of work and succeeding on a tech mechatronics check. At GM's discretion, certain upgrades may take longer. The DC of the check is equal to the base DC of the upgrade, plus 1 for each upgrade already installed on the armor. If the check fails, the process will not succeed and will be necessary to start the work all over again.
Good thing I built my
Not
Jiraki for
again.
guns.
But then we have a short list of the armor upgrades, and the base DC for them ranges from 15 to 20.
Mm-hmm.
And keep in mind that's in addition to that stacking cost that we showcased earlier. So there's technically no limit. So if somebody really wanted to, they could put all of them. But you need to pray to the dice gods you pull it off, and you need to spend a shitload of credits to do it. Especially with things like the exosuit HEV and muscular upgrades, which cost 10,000 each and have a base DC of 20.
Jeez.
But let's see,
You could put an agile upgrade on your Titan techno armor.
So, agile.
There we go. Let's do the thing.
Yep, that would decrease the penalty of the armor by 1. If the armor has a strength requirement, it's also reduced by 1. It can be done up to 2 times. So you could do it if you really wanted to spend it. You could spend like 8,000. Actually, it would be more like 8,200 credits, and you could take the Titan armor and give it a armor penalty of 2 and a strength requirement of 1.
Interesting.
So if you have a campaign of this where you're getting like a lot of money, say you're a space pirate or something, and you have a lot of money, you could literally possibly be able to give somebody who's like a really almost a small person the freaking techno armor, and then they just jump out and be like, "What's up?" Just be like this tiny little thing. That would be hilarious.
So it's not a techno armor, it's a mini mecha.
It's a mini mecha. Yes, I appreciate that.
Only you did that with Aratani.
You know what? I'm working on Aratani right now, and she is a trade queen, so I'm sure she'd have enough money to do something like that.
I am curious about the exosuits, though.
Yeah. That is something we'll get into a bit when we get to survival gear. I'd say one of the more interesting ones is stealth. You know, it doesn't make it invisible. It just gives it a camo pattern and noise reduction. Which means you get advantage on stealth checks, and the armor penalty doesn't apply to those checks. But it's not full-on thermoptics invisibility or anything like that. That might be pushing it a bit much. But when it comes to the type of camo patterns setup that it's describing, what instantly comes to mind is the camo suit functionality of the sneaking suit in Metal Gear Solid 4. Octo Camo, I think it was called. But you know, there's a few other things that are interesting. The muscular end of things just increases your strength and your dex by one, which may not sound like much, but given how expensive it is AP wise to increase any of your core stats. And technically speaking, there's no limit on how many times you can put muscular on it, as long as you got the skills and got the credits to burn.
Not to mention, I think the max you can go in any stat is 7, because I was messing around with the character sheet earlier today.
Mm-hmm. But I think ablative is going to be one that would be valuable to a lot of people, since it means the armor value guaranteed fully applies against energy damage.
Mm-hmm.
I stand corrected, it's not 7.
So where do you stand then?
I don't know. As of now, since I didn't, well, I mean, the highest stats both my guy has is like 3, but that's only in 2 skills because he's a skill monkey.
Mm-hmm. But just the volume on your end. There we go. But then we get to weapons. Now, weapons also have a strength requirement. And of course, we have damage, properties, weight, and cost.
Mm-hmm.
And as we've gone over before, weapons are divided into a few groups. Natural weapons, which are your unarmed strikes, your natural weapons. Cold weapons, which is swords, axes, spears, crossbows, basically archaic weapons. Kinetic weapons are your railguns.
Actually, they're not just the railguns. They're basically bullet and shell weapons.
Yeah. And energy weapons is self-explanatory. We also have a special category for gunnery and blasting weapons. Gunnery weapons include ones for vehicle and spaceships. And blasting weapons are grenades, mines, and detonating devices. And yes, I have done Bomberman builds in the past that is all about running around planting mines. And of course, improvised weapons.
Reminds me of the last time I played GoldenEye.
Mm-hmm. Joe, I think I told you about the odd job rule whenever I do game night with GoldenEye at my neck of the woods.
I don't think you have, actually.
The rule we had was you can pick odd job if you want, but after the match, everyone punches you in the nuts.
Fair enough.
I have not played GoldenEye in years. That sounds like a good time.
Which,
Listen, I just loved proximity mines, okay?
look, when I played
I had a friend who literally was like, let's just go into this room real quick. And he lined everything with proximity mines. And then he's like, let's just nobody move. And I've never played the game when I was playing with him. And I was like, what the heck is going on? He's like, don't move, don't move. And I'm like, but I really, like, this is boring. Why am I standing here? Just don't move, watch out. And so I'm like, okay. And then of course he moves and he blows us all up.
Yep. When I played Battlefield, I would put claymore mines at the top of ladders.
Oh, that's fucked.
And it was usually at the tall ones where it's a few seconds of climbing up the ladder and then you see front toward enemy and that's the last thing you see. But I've had some people tell me that the odd job rule is cruel, and I'd say anyone who thinks that the odd job rule is cruel has not played GoldenEye. I don't know why odd job is so short in the game, because odd job in the films was stocky, but he wasn't a dwarf, as in dwarfism dwarf. I've heard it was a programming error, which honestly I'm willing to believe that. But moving right along, we do have improvised weapon as well, and those do have the 25% chance to break, though It's anytime it hits something. And then the properties. Ammunition is self-explanatory. It means ammunition. Bulky, if you have it, if you hold it, you have disadvantage to dex checks. And if you're small and you have a bulky weapon, you have disadvantage on attack rolls with it. See, burst fire, which lets you do spray and pray, essentially a cone area of effect. Each enemy in the area has to make a DC 16 reflex saving throw, taking the damage dealt by a normal attack with that weapon if failed, or half as much if succeed. Takes up 6 shots. See, disarming, advantage on disarming attempts. Light weapons can be used as a secondary weapon when fighting with 2 weapons. Overheating, for each round it's used, the weapon accumulates 1 degree of overheating. Conversely, for each round in which it's not used, it loses 1 degree of overheating. If it accumulates 3 degrees of overheating, it blocks to allow for cooling and cannot be used until it has disposed of at least 2 degrees of overheating. One thing I'd probably do as a house rule is say, oh, you can override the overheat, but for every point after that, you run a percentage risk of exploding. Let's see, then range, self-explanatory. Reach, also self-explanatory. Thrown, you can throw the weapon with a throwing attack roll. Two-handed, requires the use of 2 hands to attack with it, but not to hold it. That's a good clarification to make.
Mm-hmm.
Unbalancing.
That's a player in the Dark Ages.
Yep. Unbalancing. It can be used to knock opponents prone. And versatile, 1 or 2 hands, though it's plus 2 extra damage here instead of plus 1, which makes it slightly better.
Mm-hmm.
Though I've always felt that that versatile just being extra damage was a little underwhelming. Since versatile is meant to be for things like bastard swords, you know, the hand and a half setup. But then we start with the weapon list. A lot of the weapon setups are what you'd expect. I think some of them are straight from 5e proper, and some with some of the changes.
Howard Fist.
Mm-hmm. I do like the Power Fist we've got here, as well as a futurist equivalent of brass knucks. And then we have it with ranged weapons, starting with cold weapons, then kinetic. So there's including your shotgun.
Like I said, I made a Drocky skill monkey, so naturally I did the logical thing and gave him a shotgun.
Yep.
Yes.
And,
I will say that I do appreciate the overheat property.
mhm.
Hmm.
And
I'm trying to think of what Aratani would actually get. Kind of like leaning toward just a blaster rifle for the hell of it.
Yep, all of the energy weapons have overheating, which I think
Mhm.
makes up for the fact that they're pretty high damage and they're doing energy damage.
Whereas for the kinetic weapons, the only one that has overheat is a machine gun, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, and they don't say it, but I'm envisioning the machine gun they're referring to as something akin to like a LMG.
Hmm.
Especially since you need strength 3 to hold it. And it is two-handed and it is bulky. So I'm thinking of a LMG or the good old Modus. Remember, left-hand feed.
I'm sorry, does that say arc projector?
It does say arc projector.
I looked at that and was like, ooh.
I cast lightning bolt.
That's the other reason why I was like, that was the other one for Aratani, was an arc projector. But she would never
Don't
be
give
strong
anyone the
enough.
lightning gun. Lightning gun is OP.
Hold on, let me put a silencer on my arc projector.
Yes.
Aww.
Yes.
So, okay, so that's why some of the melee weapons were called hollow. It has a holographic plasma blade. Is the idea. And the
So it's a lightsaber.
no, that would be a copyright violation. What it is a psionic spirit blade.
Fair enough.
It's an
Uh-oh.
energy blade.
Mhm.
Haha.
But
Do you want to get sued?
yeah, then I do like with the protonic beam, it states that because of its enormous power, since it's firing protons at near light speed, it ignores any resistance to energy damage.
So it's the BFG in all but name.
You know, it kind of bothers me that they list the hollow blades, even though they're very obviously energy weapons, under cold weapons melee.
And let me see.
Maybe it's- Maybe it's like the laser sword in No More Heroes in the way that it's built.
Possibly.
Yeah, but it's
At the same time, like I get it would only be like the two of the weapons in their own little category, but still, it just bothers me slightly.
Yeah, I think it's because of the fact that the energy part is something that can be activated. You know, it can be used as a regular kind of sword, or it can be used as a energy weapon. Which, if that's
No, it according to the description, it's just a handle.
That is a bit odd then, but I'll liken that up to a error between keyboard and chair. But then when it comes to ammunition, we have it as either darts, arrows, energy cells, or ballistic plasmetal. The ballistic plasmetal, the way they describe it as a block, and it being included in the weapon, kind of reminds me of the way ammo is supposed to work in the Mass Effect games. No, the idea that you don't really get ammo because all that your ammo is just a metal block that the gun is shaving pieces off. But
At least it's not putting a black hole in your magazine so you can just keep firing endless bullets.
fair. Sorry about that. But then we do have a few accessories. Let's see, laser sight,
Just a couple.
which just increases the aim bonus. An optical sight, which lets you attack targets beyond normal range without suffering disadvantage. With variants for infrared and thermal. The safety laces, so basically to secure the weapon handle on the wrist, making it harder to be disarmed. And silencers, which is what you would expect, although it is kind of funny that somebody could argue that they would want to put a silencer on a melee weapon.
I want to put a silencer on my melee weapon.
I want to put a hollow bayonet on my ranged weapon.
According to this, it says it's only applicable to kinetic weapons, so I'm sorry, no silencer for your arc projector.
Darn!
You know what? We're gonna have to try harder next time.
But what about my hollow bayonet?
But then we have weapon upgrades, which work the same way as we saw with armor upgrades. So we have explosive ammo.
Boom.
And at least with the weapon upgrades, it does this for what kind of weapons it's compatible with. So explosive, it's compatible with kinetic. It adds plus 1d4 energy damage in addition to the normal weapon damage. Activating or deactivating it requires a minor action. Then we have tracer ammo, which means that all ranged attacks against the target get advantage until the start of your next turn. Compact, weighs 10% less than normal. Imagine doing a compact projector. Let's see. Cyberlink can be connected to a visor or cyber optics equipped with ATS functions. Defensive is suitable for parrying and deflecting opponent's strikes. When you take defend while holding it, you get a +1 to defense. Dismountable can be disassembled and assembled with ease. It is necessary to succeed on a DC 18 inspection check to understand that a disassembled weapon is actually a weapon. Electrified deals plus 1d6 energy damage. And let me see. And electrified damage can be used with any, so you could add it to the protonic beam if you wanted to.
Oh god, imagine giving the protonic beam a heatsink.
Enhanced damage, +1 to damage rolls. Heat sink, improve the heat dissipation. If the weapon has the overheating property, ignore that property.
That's what I was saying. Protonic beam with a heatsink.
Oh, but I was thinking
what
the
does-
arc projector with a heat sink.
So what does Cyberlink do then, properly?
Oh.
Like-
Effectively makes your kinetic weapons smart weapons.
Oh, fair.
Let's see. Identification, a locking system, a genetic locking system. If you've seen Judge Dredd, you know how this works.
Or if you play Metal Gear Rising.
Like, I think
Oh,
you
wait.
need to have that identification on there so that you can aim.
Oh, fuck off.
Actually, you could use the Cyberlink on the arc projector as well.
Let's see. Improved reload makes the reloading a minor action instead of an action. Precision, +1 to attack rolls. Up to 2 times. And
It's okay, Sig. I need the Cyberlink. It's fine. I want the Cyberlink and a heatsink on my arc reactor.
Right.
But then we have blasting weapons, so the things that go boom. First is placeable explosives, which detonator and mines, self-explanatory there. The Rex explosive is described as a powerful semi-solid explosive mixture of a similar consistency to wax. Explodes exclusively via a detonator. It's C4. It is Z4. It is Semtex.
I was gonna say, did Carmack write this?
When a block of it explodes, every creature within 6 meters of it must take a DC 16 reflex saving throw, taking 4d6 energy damage if it fails, or half on a success. If you fail to save, you're also knocked prone. It is possible to connect multiple Rex blocks together with a DC 15 tech explosive check. Each added block increases the damage by 2d6 and the explosion radius by 2 meters. Does anyone recall the Crate Dragon quest in Knights of the Old Republic, where you are dealing with a Crate Dragon using literal crate boxes of landmines by the dozen.
I vaguely remember that.
I hadn't gotten that far.
That's the vibe I get with this sort of thing. So one block of Rex only costs 150 credits, as opposed to the different types of mines, which can go up to 300. A plasma mine is 300 credits. Of course, you're still having to pay another extra 100 for the detonator. But and I should note, mines have a trigger radius of 2 meters. But then we have grenades. So we've got Frag, which does 5d6 kinetic damage on a DC 16 saving throw. Gas, which uses stamina as the skill for it. And if you fail it, you are sickened. Plasma, which does 5d6 energy damage. Pulse grenades, which does 46 energy damage to any creature with EM sensitivity within 4 meters. I'd say Pulse is your equivalent to Chaff, or just launching an EMP. Especially since it says any object with electronic components within the Pulse Grenade's area of effect is deactivated and becomes unusable until the end of the next turn of the one who threw the grenade, or until it's reactivated using an action.
Oh fuck! Now they said grenade launcher.
Oh
no!
We have Stun, which if you fail that saving throw, you're blinded, deafened, and stunned until the end of the next turn. If you succeed, you're just dazzled. Oh. Yes, then we have grenade launchers. You can use a grenade launcher to shoot a grenade using the combativity kinetic weapons check instead of a throw check. Within short range or medium, or short range with no disadvantage, or medium range with disadvantage. A single grenade launcher can only hold 1 grenade at a time and must therefore be reloaded after each shot.
Only need 1.
And since it says it can easily be modified to be attached to the barrel of kinetic or energy weapons. Hello, underbarrel grenade launcher. Oh.
So, do you want your arc projector to have an underbarrel?
Yes!
A heavy grenade launcher.
Need my heat sink.
A heavy grenade launcher can instead contain up to 6 grenades, thus allowing you to shoot as many grenades as the attacks they can normally take, making the attack action, as long as there are enough grenades in the weapon. Both types can be reloaded as an action.
Oh my goodness,
That is
awesome.
glorious.
I'm going to get my arc projector with the heatsink and Cyberlink. I think it'll work. Yes.
Oh.
And Cyberlink, and I want to put a grenade launcher on it so that I can have plasma things. Grenade.
Would you be able to use the Cyberlink with the grenade launcher, though?
Ooh, maybe.
Though,
What have I done?
when I see the heavy
Because the
grenade
Cyberlink
launcher-
is essentially VATS.
Yeah. My only question is, where's the rocket launcher?
I know, right?
You know what? We shall make a rocket launcher.
Okay, we're house ruling rocket launchers.
Okay, hold on.
All in favor,
We'll just
say
use
aye.
we'll just use a more accurate grenade launcher. It'll be fine.
Oh yes, we add accuracy to the grenade launcher.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
Precision. Sorry.
Personally, if I'm doing house ruling, I'm building a power armor suit to basically be the legally distinct version of Heavy Arms Kai.
Means we need to make a Gatling gun, or at least like
There-
6 Gatling guns for that.
There's a blaster machine gun. Might work.
because accuracy by volume.
Yes.
The other thing I didn't see, there is no Flammenwerfer.
I know that is a crime. Okay, house ruling that too. All in favor, say aye.
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 Then we have gear and supplies. Some things need power to function, some have internal energy. But the tools, a lot of the tools are things that you would expect, or things straight from the tool sets from 5e proper. Then we have more generic equipment. Which is including a grappling hook. As well as electromagnetic handcuffs. Nice.
I was literally taking a screenshot of just this specific one to send to my best friend because of reasons.
But we also have the portable energy sources, which are things like charging units, energy cells, which if you're using energy weapons, which one of you most certainly is, that's going to be
just one.
Or a microfusion core, a miniaturized cold fusion reactor capable of providing a total energy equivalent to 20 energy cells. There are even more powerful ones used to power large machinery, robots, and vehicles. If a microfusion core is destroyed while operating, it explodes. Each creature within 6 meters must make a DC 18 reflex saving throw, taking 46 energy damage if it fails, or half on a success.
Like we have rules for duct tape.
So wait. So could I make this microfusion core into a grenade?
I don't think so.
Well, if it's destroyed while operating. So if it's not
While
operating.
Well, what if we use the cybernetics, so cyberlink, and then we make it into a smart thing, then we set it down, and then we let it do its thing, and then it explodes.
So, I'm also thinking of the photoelectric generator we have here, so somebody could be a legally distinct Boktai.
Taya! I will say that something that I do notice is back under generic equipment, how it seems like this is just a minor goof up when it comes to listing the clothing, because they do it in a completely different way from all the other items.
I don't know. I can see that. Then we have personal field generators, which
yes,
basically energy shields. You can be subjected to the effects of up to 2 PFGs simultaneously. A third causes interference that collapses all fields. So we have a deflector shield, which gives +2 to defense. More powerful ones grant +3. It takes an energy cell, can power it for 10 rounds. A G-comp, which creates a small gravitational perturbation field that surrounds the user and modifies gravity according to their needs, decreasing gravity that is too high or increasing those that are too low, compensating up to a maximum of 0.5 G. But since it works by messing with an existing gravitational field, it is useless in 0 G. So I'd say this is the kind of thing you'd use to adapt when you're dealing with a low gravity or high gravity planet.
Makes sense.
See, then G-Pulse, a gravitational repulsion generator, similar to planetary vehicle engines but less powerful. It's carried like a backpack and is connected to gloves equipped with necessary controls. It allows you to fly with a flying speed of 15 meters, but maneuvering it in flight is not easy and often requires a dex piloting check. Use an energy cell, lasts for 10 rounds.
So it's essentially
Gravity
like, yeah, it's basically a jetpack.
Yeah, a jetpack or a jump jet. Which does mean here's a fun thing. Take the G-Pulse, put it on that power armor, and do a DFA maneuver.
Mm-hmm.
That
I like
is
the next two.
quite literally the Highlander burial. Although, if you're getting a PFG, you're going to be paying a pretty penny because the cheap ones, it is 2,000 credits. But the Oculator, this is where we get the invisibility setup. You're invisible to both sight and most sensors if you remain motionless. You are virtually impossible to visually detect. If instead you move, you are detectable due to irregular optical distortions. While remaining invisible, interference with other active PFGs also creates similar distortions. Power supply is an energy cell for 10 rounds. So I definitely like that setup. You know, you are invisible, but it's not perfect. Although I'd probably have it that if somebody tries to visually detect you while you're moving and you have that on, they suffer disadvantage.
Understandable.
It's partial invisibility. Enemies can see you, but not as well, and they're less accurate.
Yeah. Then we also have a sound suppressor, which does exactly what it says on the tin. Anyone inside the field is considered deafened. No sound enters or leaves the field, so those who are outside it cannot hear those who are inside it, and vice versa. Then we have sensors. You know, telemetric binoculars. Well, they're binoculars. They're what you'd expect. A bioscanner, which is also what one might expect. A detector, which has a range of 20 meters. A multi-scanner, which I'd say this is the equivalent of the tricorders that got abused in Star Trek over the years. And interpreting data requires an intelligence science check. A technoprobe, which can be connected to any electronic or computer device to analyze internal structure. Then we have a visor, and this is where we get some of the acronyms we were seeing earlier. So a visor can be equipped with one of the following additional functions. Assisted Driving System, or ADS, when connected to a vehicle via a cyberlink, +1 to ability checks made to drive it. Or ATS, an Assisted Targeting System, when connected to a weapon via a cyberlink, +1 to attack rolls made with it, also displays remaining shots, and facilitating reloading. Magnification, same as binoculars. Infrared vision, infravision, thermal vision, grants thermal vision. So, I have a feeling, Tabby, that on that ridiculous cannon, you are putting an ATS system on your visor.
Well, I mean,
You know?
wouldn't the Cyberlink actually have that already?
Yeah, that's what I was.
Yeah, that's what it does.
See, like a smart thing.
Yep.
But I also have the cannon. I have the other cannon that might have.
It's very clear that the way it's set up is that each of those functions is going to be adding to the cost. So putting a visor normally costs 1,000 credits. Adding ATS is going to increase that cost by 400. So about what I would expect. Then we have survival gear, starting with an AD suit, a atmospheric diving suit, a pressurized variable buoyancy diving suit. Can equip up to 2 VSU life support units. So climbing gear, we know how climbing gear works. A cryopod, basically a cryogenic pod. Let's see, diving gear. Then we get to exosuits, where we get what the acronyms we were seeing earlier. So CBN is an exosuit that is protection against chemical, biological, and nuclear. So a rad suit. HEV is hostile environment and vacuum. So radiation resistance and dealing with hazardous gases, as well as pressures, like being out in space. Then wet, water economize, and temperature, which it's basically the still suit from Dune. And it says it's also equipped with a system that recycles and purifies the wearer's body fluids, allowing them to survive up to 30 days without the need for external water sources.
It's also known as the Bear Grylls suit. I'm not sorry for that one.
Of course you're not. Let's see, there may be fishing tackles, food rations, magnetic boots, a parachute, a respirator, underwater respirators. Pretty much standard. I do like the habitat style of tent.
Ooh.
Which because of the way it's set up, it's basically like the larger fancy tents that act more like a small house than a tent. You know, the ones that are always in display at any outdoor store.
Or like any tent from Final Fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Because the way it's described, like, it kind of makes me think of that.
Mm-hmm. Then substances and meds, which a lot of them are what one might expect. Some of them a bit more.
Yep.
I do wonder if some of these could be used in the equivalent of a blow dart.
I mean, I don't see why you couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
I would think that that's what they're there for.
Oh.
Like, why else would you use a blow dart unless you can add something to it like this?
Mm-hmm.
Behold, my contraceptive blow dart.
What the?
Obviously, some of them take the form of pills, but a lot of them are injected via hydrojet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all for the contraceptive blow dart. I'm just saying. Oof.
But
Aratani's really pissed off that you even brought it up. So
we also have a table for randomizing personal trinkets, which honestly is a nice touch, though I'm wondering if this should have been in the character creation section instead of here.
Because I don't even remember where it originally was in 5e.
I don't think
I don't
it
think
was.
it was in the equipment.
I think it's in the GM's guide in 5e.
Mhm. Yeah, but then we have computer tech. So we have a computer proper, a data pad, as well as different programs.
So they are implementing some cyberpunk into this.
Mhm. As well.
So wait, what if I were to implement the security computer program
Mhm.
with my cyber-linked crazy cannon, and so make it into an actual trap?
No, I have a feeling that whatever character you make this weapon for, they will give it a name. Like one of those personal names that you would give a weapon, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's called I Regret Nothing.
She'd probably call it Doran just because it's going to explode eventually and she can get rid of it.
Mm-hmm.
Ouch.
But
No shame.
yeah. We also have a thing on computer operations, which can involve creating programs, editing programs. So there's some fun. Illegal use of networks, hacking. So we do have a hacking system. Though
I mean, one of the backgrounds was hacker, so that makes sense.
Yep. In order to break into a protected system, you need to find an access point first. The access point might be direct or remote. Then you need to break in, which is a computer complex check. And making these rolls requires the use of the hacker's action.
Mm-hmm.
If it's successful, you manage to get in, and then can do operations within the system. If you fail, then you get to deal with the consequences. Best case scenario, you just trigger an alarm. Worst case scenario, you have no brain. And we do have a few DCs for certain actions that you can do within the system. All of them requiring a tech computer check. And the GM acts as the system itself, which will try to oppose the intrusion. Which will either be a alarm action, a exclusion action, or identifying the intruder. But
Hacking in the database. Sorry.
I do appreciate that hacking is a bit more straightforward. I just remember my early days with like Cyberpunk or Shadowrun where you had hacking systems almost like a duet.
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of have it, but nowhere near as bad as it's been in games from like the 90s or even the early 2000s in some cases.
And like you said, nowhere near as complex as I know the cyber deck. If you had a cyber deck, you had a whole bunch of programs you can do, and considering the deckers' vast array of programs, that can get complicated really fast.
You also had parallel initiatives, like an initiative for real space, one for the Matrix, and one for the astral plane. That didn't last because that was a stupid idea. And then we have robots and drones, and then which is self-explanatory there. Although I do like the robot cooking here, and probably still getting yelled at. But then we have cyberware. So obviously cyberware requires surgical procedures, and there are some catches. First is cyber points. Each item has a cyber point value that represents the invasiveness, and therefore quantifies the ability of living creatures to tolerate the installation. Typically, a creature can tolerate the installation of cyberware up to a maximum of 10 points. And obviously, if it's removed, then it no longer counts against that limit. The procedure, it requires special surgical procedures, obviously, and specialized clinics in order to do it. The procedure takes a number of hours equal to 1 plus the total cyber points value of the cyberware installed, and costs 200 credits per hour. At the end of the surgery, you suffer 1 level of exhaustion. Any uninstallation procedures, when possible, work and cost the same. In order to install cyberware, as far as characters go, you need the Technomedic talent, and it requires you to succeed on a DC 17 medicine complex check, obtaining a number of successes equal to the total cyber points value of the installed wear. Each failure adds 1 hour to the length of the procedure. and you cannot install cyberware on yourself.
Oh, not with that attitude.
But obviously, if it says it costs 0 cyber points, then you can install as many of them as you want. But we have the categories we have it are cyber gadgets, which seem to be very minor things. Implants, which cap at 2 cyber points. Organs, which are all 2s. And nanotech enhancements, which are all 2s as well. But the nanotech enhancements are ridiculously expensive.
Just a bit. My goodness.
Mm-hmm.
Nah, that's just a day, right? That's just daily work.
And because of that, they would all take 2 hours each. And you have to spend an additional 400 credits to get them installed.
One thing that this kind of tells me, considering that there's a lot of things that are 0 cyber points, is there is a means of detecting them.
Mm-hmm.
Because with the like of the synth hair, synth irises, voice modulator, it would be relatively easy for someone to just kind of pretend to be someone else of the same race.
Mm-hmm.
That's the term they use, right? So things like trying to take on someone else's identity, things like that would be easier. Though, again, if there's means of detecting such things, certain security or security apparatuses, things like that, then I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It was just a random thought.
Oh yeah. But there are certain advantages that each has, and nanotech goes one step further, including regeneration. Each time you finish a rest, you regain an additional D6 vitality. You also simultaneously heal from non-permanent effects of trauma in 2d4 hours and permanent in 2d4 days, including regrowing missing body parts. Though there's also bio-augmentation for nanotech, which you take one of your abilities, increase it to 1, and the maximum score that you can increase it to, which is normally 6, goes up by 1. You can apply that up to 3 times. I'm a little disappointed that I'm not seeing. Oh, never mind. There is Chip. There are some enhancements for messing around with skin. So if you want to do the Senator Armstrong thing, you can potentially do that.
Nanomachine, son.
Because Polydermis gives you a natural AV of 2. You can also use a minor action to change the color and surface texture of your skin, as well as to slightly change the features of your face. So even further with that whole disguise thing you were hinting at, Joe.
Like, there has to be something that goes, oh, this person has a polydermis augmentation. We don't even know if that's the same person, unless, they have other means of detecting identity.
Yeah, but cyberware is still susceptible to EM effects.
That'll do it.
Mm-hmm.
That's nasty. Cause ew, I couldn't imagine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, could you imagine if someone had like a biotech heart?
Oh God.
I was thinking the biotech stomach, but yeah, you went just straight for the heart of the matter.
I saw it as you were saying it.
God damn it, Tabby.
I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
It does say
Heart.
It does say in the sidebar that if you have cyberware and you're affected by an EM effect, like a pulse grenade, you have to succeed on a DC 16 stamina save. or be sickened until the end of your next turn. So it doesn't completely turn it off, but you are going to be feeling it. Lifestyle expenses, additional expenses for things like moving about, medical services for things like biosculpture, which is futuristic plastic surgery. The superficial just improves your appearance, while deep biosculpture changes the patient's features, making them practically unrecognizable if they wish, and even copy someone else's appearance.
There it is.
And if you really want to put in the extra money, you can do cloning.
I think I'm a clone now. Other guys like me are always hanging around.
But when it comes to the equipment, a lot of stuff is what you'd expect, but there's a few surprises in there. I think one of the more interesting things we've got here is how weapons and armor are handled. Where instead of dealing with some sort of proficiency thing, you need a certain amount of strength in order to use it.
Which I get over proficiency, if I'm being honest.
Indeed.
I think I like the customizability, so you could literally just be like, okay, I'm gonna get my machine gun that I've had since day one here, and then just be like, oh well, now it's a freaking, now I've upgraded and upgraded, and now I have a freaking plasma machine gun with grenades that shoot out of the bottom of it, and it has a heat sink and all the, it's like go down the list of things where it's just a completely customized for what you want, or what the what it needs at that very moment, rather than just being like, oh well, I have a sword.
And obviously,
I have a hollow polearm.
Yeah, obviously, a lot of the customization skews towards ranged weapons, but I'd say that'd be easy to adjust. But, and in fact, let me load on a different tab. I'm going to load up the Chronicles of the Edge expansion. So I want to see, because there is new equipment in that. Some new armor, road warrior armor specifically.
Nice.
And so they do have a flamethrower in the expansion. It is an energy weapon.
Can we use the flamethrower on the arc weapon and not make it into the flamethrower grenades of doom?
This is not the time to say, fuck it, let's use fire and lightning.
It is always the time!
There's also an arc rifle.
Oh!
A rifle!
Yes!
And they do have the rocket launcher in that, as well as a nail.
Yes!
Okay, alright.
Though one of the effects for the nail gun didn't get translated because it's still in Italian. But the arc rifle is a carbine that fires electric bursts. If you get hit, you have to succeed on a DC 17 stamina save or be stunned. And it's considered an EM effect.
Oh god, that's gonna be nasty.
But
I hope you don't hit somebody with that hard.
There's also the option to do a boomerang as a cold weapon.
What do we get? An energy boomerang?
No.
Behold the hollow boomerang.
That we can put on bayonets.
Oh, do they give hollow bayonets? I'm honestly curious.
Let's see.
I just want
Like,
to
I know it's such a weird thing to ask about, but
I just want to add the hollow bayonets to the end of the hollow boomerang and then just yeet it and see what dies as it comes back.
let's see. I'm
while it drops grenades.
I'm not seeing the bayonet. I'm not seeing anything that would be akin to the bayonet.
Darn.
But we do have a rocket launcher. It is using these. No matter what, a direct hit from a rocket does 2d6 kinetic damage, and then explodes 1d4 meters. If it misses, it explodes 1d4 meters after it along the line of fire. And the explosion is additional damage.
Nice.
So the frag is 5d6 kinetic damage, and targets are knocked prone. There's incendiary rockets. There's also pulse rockets and plasma rockets.
Oh wow.
The Chronicles of the Edge also added the dynamite blasting weapon.
Dynamite blasting.
So I wouldn't have to house rule that explosions would knock you back a certain. He does that.
Dynamite, of all things.
But there's also incendiary grenades, entangling grenades, and a few other things as well. But I didn't see anything regarding upgrades to do the notion of bayonets. So that's something that I'd probably have to house rule in as an upgrade. Though I'd probably have it that maybe I think for that kind of thing, the melee weapon you use would need to have the light tag.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not trying to use a polearm or a great axe as a bayonet.
I mean, that makes more sense. I mean, whatever you put on it's going to add some degree to it.
Mm-hmm. I'd probably also make the rule that if you add that bayonet, you are treating it as a two-handed weapon.
Which again makes sense.
So we would put a knife on a pistol.
What? I'd put a knife on it.
Wouldn't.
I know. I was like, wait. I want the knife to put on a pistol, and then I'd yeet the pistol with the knife, and hopefully it shoots at the same time as it hits.
But I could see house ruling a ballistic knife, like a Spetsnaz knife.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the range for the thing is going to be short, and you're not putting a scope on that. But I can see myself doing that. But then we get to the other half we're going to cover, which is vehicles and starships. Definitely some nice designs we've got here.
I'm immediately reminded of Gyrus with this one. Great old game.
It could be worse. You could be reminded of Descent.
I have very, very vague memories of Descent.
I do not, unfortunately.
Oh, you poor soul.
Yeah, because back then I decided to play the thing on the hardest skill. You can add that to the list of reasons why I have a punching bag in my office.
Oh no.
It's not a bad game, it is just evil.
Yeah.
But
Anyway.
go ahead.
No, I'm good.
when it comes to vehicles, obviously you need the piloting skill to pilot it.
Luckily, my Jiraki has that.
And the basic systems are energy and propulsion, along with a few others. Energy is just how it's powered, most of them by microfusion cores. Some are equipped with photoelectric generators. Propulsion, you know, how the thing's going to be moving. And then we have a few examples. Some vehicles do have onboard computers as well, which means an integrated VI. So we have land speeders, air speeders, biped and quadruped mechs, and each has a set of stats. The armor value, self-explanatory there. Maneuvering penalty, how difficult it is to maneuver and applies to Dex piloting checks. Thrust points, which is its performance. The pilot can use the thrust points to change speed and direction of motion and to perform other maneuvers. We'll get to that when we get to vehicle combat. Max speed, and then which is self-explanatory. Load points, how much cargo it can carry, if any. If it's equipped with weaponry or extra fitting, the load value that is subtracted from its load points to a minimum of 0. Each load point is equivalent to 100 weight. And crew, how many medium or small occupants it can accommodate. And unless otherwise noted, it can be piloted and operated by one individual. And autonomy, which is basically how long it can run before it needs to refuel. And the cost of a recharge. So if you wanted to do your mech, it has 40 hours of autonomy. Whereas a truck land speeder has 60 hours.
Interesting.
And actually, the biggest ones seem to have 60 hours. That seems to be how it's going. These small stuff, 20 hours. Medium stuff, 40. 60 hours for the big stuff. And let's see, when it comes, I do wonder how big a biped mech is going to be with this, because mechs can take various sizes. You have the Scope Dog, which is pretty small mech-wise, and then on the other end of things, you have Psycho Gundam, which is not very small. But then we have weaponry and extra fitting. So weaponry is just adding in additional weaponry, specifically gunnery weaponry. The space surrounding a vehicle is divided into 45-degree arcs, basically the firing arcs. Then extra fitting, so we have things like ablative cloaking. No, not coating. I don't know why I said cloaking, but we do have that. We do have Cyberlink, as well as deflector shields, enhanced computers, improved autonomy, which you can increase the autonomy up to 100%. So imagine putting that on a truck land speeder, so you have something that can go 120 hours before it needs to refuel.
Oh, I thought you were installing an AI in it so it can operate on its own.
No, autonomy is basically the gas tank.
Got it.
Yeah, but you can do Cyberlink.
Mm-hmm.
And a turret.
And we also have a nice mech on the next page, and this one feels like something out of Ring of Red. But when it comes to
Okay.
vehicle weapons, these are ridiculous. The kinetic cannon does 4d10 kinetic damage, but then you have the phasic
no.
ray, which does 6d10 energy damage.
And I outfit it with a heat sink.
And I outfit it with an arc projector.
Ooh, and a grenade launcher.
Oh my god.
But
Wait, there's no heat sink. That means I have to wait for it to like not be overheated anymore. That's not fun. Just hide behind my deflector shield and shoot you with my plasma machine gun with a heat sink on it.
but
I'm sad now.
on the other hand, the phasic ray has a load of 10, so I don't think you're putting. Let me see how many load points does a biped mech has 20 load points.
Ooh, but I could put more turrets on it then, eh?
Exactly.
Ooh, let's just do that instead. We'll have one phasic ray, and then we'll have 5. We'll have at least 2 turrets. We'll be fine.
No, just all phasic rays. Nothing but phasic rays.
Oh, 2
Just
phasic rays.
phasic rays.
Just 2 phasic rays.
Just phasic rays.
Yes. And then you have the crazy abomination of the energy gun.
You basically have the Fafnir. Which the Fafnir is equipped with nothing but 2 Gauss cannons.
I am pleased. Today.
For a bit of sometimes they will have more than that, but the big thing is it having Gauss cannons. I mean,
Yep, I've seen what it looks like. Oh my god.
Your god can't help you now.
But here's the other thing. I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, but why not have? If you could do 2 phasic rays, or you could do 10 energy heavy machine guns.
Your god cannot help you now.
Yeah. Like, these are heavy Gauss rifles, which is basically what happens when somebody said, let's take the big ass autocannon, let's make it bigger.
Excellent.
Pardon me as I create a mobile weapons platform.
Eventually the thing would get improved. The problem with the Gauss cannon, at close range, it is doing 25 damage.
How is that a problem?
Oh, I'd say the bigger problem is the fact that it is expensive on the BV side of things, and at most you're getting maybe 4 shots, less if you go with case ammo. Case is ammo protection.
Definitely thinking cloaking though.
Yeah, case is ammo protection, so that if a shot hits where the ammo is stored in a mech, it doesn't explode. The downside is it means less ammo.
Yep.
And some pilots are crazy enough to take that risk.
Not at all.
But then we have vehicle combat, which the combat sequence is the same as normal combat. The only difference is initiative is with the piloting check instead of normal initiative. And as mentioned, vehicles have a max speed, which they can't push, as well as the current speed, which is based on the speed it's moving. So with that in mind, let me see what the max speed of a biped mech is 3. The fastest thing that we have is a sloop airspeeder, which has a max speed of 8.
not bad.
What kind of load we got on this airspeeder? It's only got 4. I don't know, man.
But you can lose control of a vehicle, and if you fail a piloting check. So be careful when moving if you fail at it. But when it comes to attacking vehicles, they have their own defense, which is 13 plus pilot dex minus maneuvering penalty. I actually like that. So piloting can give you advantages to not get hit. You'd be surprised how rare that is.
I just want to run over people.
But it is still sensitive to EM attacks. If you get hit with one of those and you're in a vehicle, it has a 10% chance of causing a breakdown.
Breakdown.
And vehicles do have a certain amount of structure points, which is basically vitality points for vehicles. But they have an extra damage resistance represented by damage threshold. So you do have HP when you're dealing with your vehicles, but it's not as bad as it could be. And the structure points for a mech is 100. But it also has a damage threshold of 10, which means anything less than 10 just is getting shrugged.
Yep.
Personally, I would probably utilize a variation of the mega damage rule, though not as bullshit as mega damage in Rifts, where you have on ground scale and vehicle scale. Vehicle scale just means the damage is doubled. Because if you're firing at somebody with a weapon that's meant to destroy other vehicles, I think it should do a lot more damage. Possibly one hit KO, depending on the weapon. But then we have pilot actions, which are the maneuvers. This can be accelerating or decelerating, change direction up to a maximum of 45 degrees. Dodging, so you can spend 1 thrust point to make a dodge. Or you can spend a thrust point to make an evasive maneuver, which both of them impose disadvantage on rolls made against you. You can also make a piloting check to regain control of a vehicle if you lose control. And there are other actions like attacking with vehicular weaponry, with personal weapons, if deemed appropriate. Which I know I probably do. I probably played dirty by getting a mech real close, opening up the cockpit, and then firing point blank with a rocket.
Oh God. That sounds fun.
But there's also the special results. Which works the same way as the special results that we saw when it comes to what you get when you roll a 12 in normal rolls. But several of them mean a potential breakdown of the vehicle. So these can get pretty nasty. And that's just with vehicles. Then we get to starships. A lot of it is what you'd expect. There's also the structure. There's also the primary component part of it, as well as machinery compartment, complementary compartment, and cargo, as well as the class of ship. Class 1 is light, and Class 8 are colossal ones. And we have the setup for it.
I only see one instance of a colossal one, which is the Imperial Starship.
Yep. Which has 2,000 structure points, a damage threshold of 30, a AV of 5, a detection threshold of 10, detection threshold of how difficult it is to detect it through sensors. Thrust points, which in that case is just 1, which makes sense. You're not going to do fancy maneuvers in a big Imperial scale ship.
Not with that attitude.
Let's see. Energy points, which represents the extra energy generated by the starship after all its basic systems are kept running. This can be assigned to weaponry and extra fitting. Then load points, we've already covered that. The crew requirements for a full crew and a minimum, or skeleton crew essentially, and autonomy. Refueling a starship costs 500 credits multiplied by the starship class per day of autonomy. Which, given how big some of these things can get, that makes sense. So, the Imperial class starship has the load points of 120,000. The minimum crew is 300. A full crew is 1,000. And its autonomy is 1,800 days. And even the smallest ones are not going to come cheap. Like, a Sparrow costs 1 million credits. Which means...
I mean, these are... it is technically a personal starship, so...
Whereas Imperial, that would be technically 14 billion. It's... Which is basically saying, if you have to ask, you probably can't afford it.
Exactly.
But when it comes to description, class 1 is small, light, and agile ones, usually private vehicles. Class 2 is scouts and couriers. These are small to medium-sized vessels. I'd say things like the Serenity and Firefly would be a class 2, as well as the Bebop. Class 3 and 4 is corvettes and frigates. These would be the main body of most space fleets. Class 5 and 6 are cruisers and battleships. Which I'd say a lot of the battleship type of ship you see in all manner of science fiction would fall into that category. Then 7 and 8 is colonial and imperial. Which, when I'm thinking of something that would be that big, I'd say the Fortress Monastery ships in 40K.
Fair enough.
Or I know it'd be tempting to say like the Imperial starships in Star Wars, but I think those would just be battleships.
You know, I'm thinking like the large tree ships from Tenchimuyo, because those were entire cities.
Oh yeah, and then some.
Then we have weaponry and extra fitting, which has a minimum.
All right, what horrible weapons can we put onto this thing?
The energy points it requires when installed, the load points, as well as the cost. So starship weaponry is things like cannon batteries, which can either be kinetic or energy, electro-ionic cannons. So if you really want, I'd say electro-ionic things is something that you're doing, especially if you're doing a pirate ship.
Yep.
I want my pirate ship to have pulse torpedoes.
Pulse torpedoes, yes.
So we have torpedo launch
And
systems.
electro-ionic cannons.
So photon torpedoes and pulse torpedoes, as well as astral mine release systems.
Yes. We'll put some of those on there too.
I do find it interesting that it's that for damage when it comes to the cannon batteries, it is 2d10 times energy points.
Oh,
The load is 3 times energy points, and energy is 1 or more. So you could do some nasty stuff if you put these on an Imperial class one.
Oh, God.
Time to put a cloaking countermeasure on my Imperial ship.
Excellent.
Oh.
It will only cost us 14,000 million.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, as well as
And
a
it's
blade
a
of floating
64
cloaking and anti-detection cloaking.
So what shall we put on this thing other than making sure we have everything EM to we make sure they all die horrible deaths?
It can be cyber linked. You can also put in deflector shields.
Yes, the warp drive.
Let's see. Enhanced onboard computer, enhanced power core, false targets. so the crybaby maneuver. A hangar, self-explanatory. A hologram room, so basically the legally distinct holodeck. We know what goes on in the holodeck, just make sure to clean up when you're done.
I would like 3 of them, please.
Holodecks?
Maybe 4.
Improve propulsion. Improve sensors. Although with propulsion, adding an additional thrust point.
I wonder what specialized areas entail.
It looks like infirmaries, armories, laboratories, and so on.
Pretty much.
I would like the drones.
Yep.
Can I outfit the drones with weapons?
It also looks like the specialized areas are of 2 tiers each. You've got an armory, you have the galley, you have the infirmary, a laboratory, and workshops. The laboratory can give characters extra edge cards. And yes, we have tractor beams and warp drives.
We have to have
What-
a warp drive. We have to have, like, what? How many warp drives we need on this thing? It's Imperial,
Technically, we
right?
would only really need 1.
Yes, but what about second warp drive?
Yes, we must reach ludicrous speed.
Excellent. We've gone to plaid.
But then when it comes to operating a starship, there is the issue of maintenance. Obviously, there's the issue of getting one, as well as paying the crew that you're hiring, refueling, maintenance. And when it comes to crew, there's a variety of things to deal with that. Your captains, your first mate, your pilot. I wonder if you can cut out the middleman with the pilot the way Farscape did.
I mean, with the way
Pilot?
it's very possible. From what I've experimented with.
Yep. The engineer.
Wait. If it's your ship, wouldn't you be the captain? Couldn't you be the captain?
Possibly. But then there's degrees of passengers, and I like that you have different forms of it, especially if you're stowing away or if you're getting the VIP treatment. Then we have space navigation, which does require navigation using a tech astronomics check at DC 15. Though when maybe because of my history with both Dune and Warhammer when I see navigator, I think of the very specialized kind of navigators that both Dune and Warhammer 40k have. Whether it be fold space or the whole thing with the Astronomicon. But atmospheric operations, landing and docking, airlocks, remote operations, which includes sensors and telecommunications. Though we have the option of quantum communicators for interstellar communication. When it comes to sensors, they are either in active mode or passive mode. With active mode, that is where a tech astronomics check is required, and I'd say that's where the DC for detecting ships comes in, and it can be modified through things like distance as well as sensors and time. But it is interesting that Starship Combat uses hexes instead of squares. Personally, I would use hexes for both, and I wouldn't have to change too much. But there are a few key roles. The captain, who's commanding the ship. The pilot, the systemist, who's basically up doing the sensors, gunner, and engineer. And attacking starships works similar to how it does with vehicles, including special results. And when it comes to crew actions, each of those 5 roles I mentioned earlier has their own set of actions, which I do like. Because I've seen some games where full-on starships are treated as just a vehicle upscaled. But I feel the big part of the fantasy of being on a starship is the crew taking different roles.
Yep. Which, with given all the skills and all the different stats, I mean, it's very possible.
And yes, we do have boarding actions. So if you really want to do it is risky, but you can do that if you want to do the whole space pirate thing.
Yar.
But that more or less covers the 2 chapters we intended on going through tonight. So, with that in mind, what did you guys think of equipment and vehicles?
I think that they're fun, and I want to run someone over with my starship.
I feel like we're going to create some horrible Frankenstein of a weapon.
I feel like I have created 2 new monsters.
A horrible
You
Frankenstein.
ain't created shit with me.
Yeah, a horrible Frankenstein of a weapon. So, a standard weapon in Painkiller.
Well, that's just normal.
Define normal.
The average of the abnormal.
That is technically correct. Which, as we've discussed, is the best kind of correct.
Literally what my mom always told me all growing up. I'm like, I'm not normal. That's because normal is just average.
But you're not average either.
I'm not average.
But for me personally, I'd say I enjoy the customization we have here, like going with archetypes of ships instead of going with individual models.
Mm-hmm.
as well as the fact that I do have some issues with the way direction movement works with this sort of thing, but if I'm being honest, that's something I'd probably go more theater of the mind with in my own campaigns, as opposed to being that specific. But it does make sense to go with hexes for ships. And I think the only thing I might have added is maybe instead of having mechs as another type of vehicle, give it its own specific setup.
That's about right.
But let me see if there was any. I don't think there was any expansion on vehicles in Chronicles of the Edge. There are some new vehicle weaponry to note, like EM cannons, or a pod rocket launcher, an MRL.
You know, an EM cannon just gets to the heart of things.
As what?
I already made this joke.
Yes.
You did. You did.
I don't care. Better than the lungs. Just
You're not wrong.
There's also a thermoinductor beam, which I just want to read off the description for this. This peculiar starship weapon is designed to directly affect the crew on board the targeted ship without damaging the latter in any way. In fact, the thermoinductor generates a powerful beam of radiation, which increases the internal temperature of the organic matter. However, this armament is useless when used against starships of a higher class than the one in which it's installed. On a successful hit, all creatures aboard the affected starship must make a strength stamina saving throw against DC 11 plus the energy points assigned to the beam, taking 1d4 biotic damage per energy point if they fail, or half as much if they succeed. Any creature that fails the saving throw is also sickened until the start of the next turn of the affected starship.
God.
That is vile.
You can't just shoot a hole into the surface of a capital class ship.
Like that is the kind of
Yes, I can.
you put a pirate that got a hold of that for a large ship. That is the stuff of nightmares. You know, a ship veering out of stealth, firing a thermoinductor, cooking the people in it, and then taking the ship, or salvaging the ship and just leaving the remaining stuff to just drift. But even though the core setup with equipment is what we would expect in this kind of game, I appreciate that it's doing its own little things. I also appreciate that it didn't try to sneak in a legally distinct version of magic items. That would be stupid. I have seen some that try to reinterpret magic items to be cybernetics, and it doesn't work. Especially given all the stuff you can do with magic items. And I think some of the things that would have been magic items in a more fantasy game are moved over into equipment customization here.
yeah.
That being said, when we come back to the valley, which will not be next week because next week is July 4th, so I'm declaring that particular day off. Plus, I'm going to be doing something else that day. But when we get back on the 11th, we are going to be doing the 3-in-1 rule. Now,
3-in-1?
Yep, Joe, Tabby, since you are new, I will explain the 3-in-1 rule. Every 3 episodes of a regular season, like we have here with Farsight, we cover one lighter game or one quick start. the same thing applies when it comes to covering those sort of things between seasons. So, for example, when you and I covered Astra Arcanum, Joe. Which, crossing over some of the stuff with Astra Arcanum into this would be amusing and also terrifying.
Just a little.
As if Astra Arcanum isn't terrifying enough with how easily you can get fucked up. But when we get back to the valley on the 11th, we're going to be looking at the TTRPG adaptation of Desperados, which, to my recollection, is still completely free.
Awesome.
We will be getting back to Farsight on the 18th, and in that instance covering Psionics. And I will be looking at that and whether or not they fall into the same traps of the Vancian model, which is, from what we saw with the Psi class, is unlikely. So hopefully by the end of July, we will be finished with Farsight and moving on to what we got next in August. So please keep an eye out for all of that. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.
Bye.
See you on the trail.
Bye.